Hey, what's up, guys? Mike Patrick. In this video, I'm going to be talking about negative talk, spells. Words are spells. So, negative talk, gossip, hearsay, all those types of things, okay? Now, I know I said this is the third video I done said that in the last three videos, each one I said this was going to be my last video. But I did say in the last video, unless I receive some kind of inspiration, okay? I think this video is extremely important, so I gotta get it out, okay? I think it's very beneficial and progressive with the intent of helping other people, including myself, become better people, okay? All right, look, guys, I know in that last video I was talking to some of you guys, well, yeah, some of you guys, whoever that you feel like that video applies to them, about how some of you have had evil witchcraft done on you ever since you were little, possibly, okay? Now, this is the thing. Witchcraft is not necessarily somebody setting up some elaborate setup with the intention and sending out bad intention for you, okay? What you guys may fail to realize, what people fail to realize, and I've said this before, that's why I said everybody in a sense is a witch. It's just everybody's not as intentional as other people, okay? So some people know what they're doing, and some people just are victims of society and what we deem to be acceptable and popular and okay, and that's just what people do, so to speak, okay? So with that said, guys, what I more so really meant, a lot of you, now some of you have had actual elaborate, you know what I mean, things set up, you know what I mean, and people doing all kinds of stuff and sending it and with the intention to harm you in some kind of way, okay? But mainly what it is, especially in certain communities, certain demographics, okay, and things like that, it's more so just negative talk, okay? Things that we call gossip, okay, things that we call hearsay, negative talk in general, okay, meaning people talking in ways that subconsciously instills fear, okay, and negativity a lot of times. All right, I'm gonna elaborate on this, just so bear with me, okay? This video may be longer too, all right? But like I said, I'm thinking these will probably be some of my last videos, you know what I mean? So I don't really, you know what I mean? I'm gonna take my time and take as much time as I need, okay? Um, some of you have just been victims of people speaking negatively about you, okay? And we all have been victims of that, okay? And that is a form of witchcraft. That's a form of spells, okay? Anything that we speak is, look at it like it's a spell, okay? So just negative speaking, okay? So when someone is always trying to tell you something negative that can happen, or something negative that's happening. Some of you have grew up, we all know, like I said, especially in certain communities, we all know those people who they just always have something negative to say. You know what I'm saying? About somebody else, about somebody else's situation, about somebody else's life, about another person. You know what I mean? They're just always gossiping about someone else, talking about someone else's business, all those types of things. That's all negativity, especially if it's negative, okay? I ain't saying that everybody that speaks about you has spoken negative about you. We all have probably had negative and positive things spoken about us, okay? But what I'm saying is some of us get caught in these loops and in these what we consider to be, no, that's why it's not necessarily intentional for most people. Most people are just what? victims of circumstance and society, and we want to fit in, and certain things we don't even realize it becomes us, or we become it, because it just seems to be a part of how we have to operate and how we naturally learn to operate, because that's what appears to be the norm. Okay? And we all want to, well, most of us want to fit in. You know what I mean? Especially as a kid, you know what I mean? And things like that. So a lot of you have grown up too, peculiar ones. But we all have grew up in this. You know what I'm saying? This society is this way. I'm you know what I mean? I say in specific demographics and things like that, but really it's a societal issue. It happens across the board. Okay? Negativity is something that humanity seems to thrive on. A lot of humanity, our lower nature, root chakra. Okay? We seem to be more entertained by negativity. You know what I mean? And a lot of times when we are negative people ourselves, that's what we feed off of. That's why I got started getting to a certain point, right? And I'm not saying I'm perfect to this day, and I'm not saying that when I first started my journey that I was perfect and things like that. But once again, it's about awareness. So the point is, when I started becoming aware of these types of things, okay, and with the intention of, like I said, pointing these things out so people can consider it, because most people aren't truly bad people. It's just that, like I said, nobody's pointing these. I ain't gonna say nobody, but most people is not pointing these things out. It's not the day-to-day type of talks that people have, so people don't consider these types of things, and it's just real easy to succumb to what seems to be normal. But once you point these things out, you help break those spells and those natural cycles of doing the same thing over and over again, okay, that is not helping us evolve into our better selves and be a better individual and a better group of people and a better world, okay? Now, a lot of you have grown up where you have always had people that's always telling you about negativity and possible negative outcomes, okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with sometimes showing people we consider like negative possible outcomes to something, to for one, like okay, obviously, you know what I mean, telling your child, you know what I mean, look both ways before you cross the street, okay, because cars could be coming, you can get hit by a car. Yes, that's negative to say, but that's necessary, because that is a very likely and highly possible outcome that could happen. But, so you do want to tell your child, look both ways before you cross the street, because cars could be coming and you don't want to get hit by a car. But this is what a lot of us failed to do with raising our children, and what society fails to do a lot of times, okay, is you also have to tell people about positive possible outcomes, okay? See, this is the thing about anything. Anything could happen, okay? And I know you want to talk about probabilities and things like that. I know we can get into probabilities like the likelihood of certain things. But sometimes, right, just as much as you are trying to always forewarn somebody about a possible negative outcome to anything, also try to find positive, let them know that, yeah, something negative can happen in this situation, but something positive can happen in this situation. Be aware of as many possible outcomes as you can, so you can evaluate things, you know what I mean, accordingly. But some of us have been in fear of everything, has been instilled in us from day one, Okay? And like I said, I want to make this disclaimer on this video. Everything I say is not necessarily personal. It's just some things I might have went through. Some things it may just be something I've observed. Some things it could just be a download that I know applies to somebody. You know what I mean? And so when I say these things, what I mean, I don't always want people thinking, or I don't never want people thinking that everything it necessarily applies to me, and then you start targeting or thinking about somebody that might be in relation to me. Like when I say when we grow up, you know what I mean, you're always being taught negativity and stuff like that, then the first thing some of you might think is, oh, the people who raised him. You see what I'm saying? Like that. So, you know what I mean? And then another thing is, a lot of this stuff has to be brought to awareness, because many things, our parents won't perfect either, ain't perfect either to this day, and won't perfect, you know what I mean, when they were growing up, and their parents won't perfect and things like that. So the point is, a lot of things weren't intentional. So it's never to make somebody else possibly look bad or look a certain type of way, or anything like that. It's just that a lot of things that we do is unconscious and unintentional, and you have no way of really correcting it if nobody is going to be willing or able or conscious or aware enough, or most people or not enough people, you know what I mean, conscious or able or aware enough to point it out. So you'd be like, oh, because a lot of times, like I said, a lot of people are good people. It's just that they're not aware of certain stuff. And it's like, but now that you said something about it, and I think about it, that does make sense. And perhaps you might want to work on these things for yourself. You see what I mean? Now, so with that said, guys, words are spells and things like that. So if you tell your child, right, don't go walking into that, don't go running into that, and then it's a way that you say things and all of those types of things. So don't go running into that street because you can get hit by a car. Why not just say, for one, have a certain tone, you know what I mean? When you cross, what you want to do is, when you cross the street, you want to look both ways and look out for anything that could possibly be coming from either way, so you can be aware of your surroundings, okay, as you cross the street. You see how I said that versus telling you some negative outcome that can happen if you don't look both ways? You see what I mean? So it's a difference in me saying what I just said, how I said it, and me saying, don't go running across that street. Look both ways, because you can get hit before you get hit by a car. Because you can get hit by a car. You see what I'm saying? Or with a lot of you, with a lot of your upbringings, your parents would have told you like that before you get hit by a car. Not that you could possibly get hit by a car, but they may say, don't go running across that street before you get hit by a car. You see what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So this is it's stuff like that. You see what I mean? So I'm not just talking about, when I say people have been doing evil witchcraft and stuff on you since you was little, you know what I mean? I'm more so speaking of stuff like that. You see what I mean? People just always instilling some kind of fear in you, and always trying to make you afraid of things, and planting fear and certain ideas in your mind. You know how when you were a little kid, you just do almost anything, and you don't think nothing of it, which is what you're supposed to have. Parents and adults and responsible people in your life that are going to tell you, you know what I mean, you can't just jump off of that, whatchamacallit, you know what I mean, you could hurt yourself. Like I said, it's a way that you say stuff, though. You know what I mean? Or be careful jumping down there like that. You can make them aware that, you know what I mean, that certain things that you might not like could possibly come out of what you're doing or something like that. But you notice how when you're a little kid, you have to be taught to be afraid a lot. Okay, I ain't saying that we don't innately, naturally, you know what I mean, have some level of awareness of what to do and what not to do and things like that, and fear. But I'm saying, what I mean to say, excuse me with that. But what I mean to say is, um, you know what I mean. A lot of the fear that we have has been instilled in us. Okay, and then like I said, because a lot of stuff you're gonna learn from experience. You see what I'm saying? As a child and stuff and things like that. You know what I mean? But a lot of stuff, and so therefore you will know that if perhaps you may have jumped from something too high when you was a kid. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody necessarily have to tell you, you know, what could possibly happen, but perhaps you just did something when you was a kid, and then you realize, and maybe you did fall the wrong way and you landed the wrong way, and then you taught yourself, like, through experience, like, okay, you know what I mean, I know now that when I jump from something I could possibly land the wrong way and hurt myself. And that's a lot of how we are supposed to learn. But many of you have grown up with before you can do anything, before you could ever do anything, it's somebody telling you why you shouldn't do it, what negative could possibly come out of it. You see what I'm saying? All those types of things. So those are spells. That's a certain level and form of witchcraft. It may not be intentional. I'm not saying that the person that was doing it to you or the people that were doing it to you had it in their mind, like, let me always try to make him fearful or make her fearful of something or this or that and the third. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying that that was their intention, but it just might have been the way they were raised. They might have a whole lot going on with them and that has went on with them that they just have. And then we have a lot of what people would deem or what the medical field would say, we have a lot of mental health issues that go undiagnosed in a lot of communities too. I ain't saying that everybody don't have them, but what I'm saying is it goes undiagnosed in specific demographics. And a lot of it is, we are in the medical field, it'll be called a mental health issue, but mainly what it is a spiritual thing. And then when you're not doing the work that you are supposed to do, then these things can manifest in ways, it can just make you a certain type of person, okay, if you don't know how to work with yourself and work on the things that you need to work on and do, you know what I mean? So a lot of people, that's what I'm saying, a lot of people aren't into spiritual work and things like that. So we just are the way we are. And so it's a lot of people that got some type of, a lot of people, probably most people have some type of imbalance, okay, that needs to be worked out, worked through, so they can become the best version of themselves. But how many people are going to do the work? You see what I mean? Now, so that's just speaking about how you have people that have been spelling you your whole life, possibly with just negative talk, okay, in general. Or like I said, always talking about somebody else in a negative form. They don't want to talk about nobody else unless they talking about something negative, something juicy, something, you see what I mean? Something, you know, anything like that. You know what I mean? Always, you know, so that falls in the line in the form of gossip. Always got somebody else name in their mouth. Always talking about somebody else who may not be around them. It's one thing to be talking about somebody that's sitting right there with you or talking to somebody, but when you're the type of person that's always engaging in conversation about somebody else that's not there, you see what I mean? Form of witchcraft, especially if you don't have nothing good to say about that person. A form of negative witchcraft, okay? It's all technically witchcraft. You see what I mean? But just like you can curse somebody, you could bless somebody. You see what I'm saying? So like I said, a lot of people are just addicted to that negativity and things like that. But what I will say about it is this. Look at it this way. Perhaps by the time we become adults, perhaps you won't be so interested in things like gossip and negative talk and stuff when you look at things this way. When you become aware of this. perhaps by the time we all become adults, right, we all have something that we are not particularly proud of, okay? I'll just give some examples, okay? There's a whole lot of people that have been molested or raped and things of that nature at some point in their life. That doesn't necessarily, and you will never know it, okay? I'm sure there's a lot of people, for all the people that is documented that have been molested or raped and things like that, I'm sure there's twice as many people who that's a secret of theirs, okay? And that literally may be nobody else's business. That's up to the individual if that's something that they feel like. Some people share stuff like that, some people don't, okay? But at the end of the day, no matter what scale is on, perhaps everybody has something that they're not particularly proud of. They're not proud of it. You know what I mean? Like, we all talk about what we think we're proud of, right? But everybody has probably something that they're not particularly proud of, okay? And so when you look at it that way, you won't necessarily talk about people in a negative manner, or you won't be drawn to that as much, because you'll be conscious and aware that you probably have something in your life that you're not proud of either. And do you want people necessarily talking about you in a negative manner? Or, you know what I mean? Yeah, or, so that we consider gossip. Okay? A lot of times when you are engaging with these type of people, what you have to realize is, when you are engaging with somebody and you think you talking about somebody else, and y'all talking about somebody else, and y'all going back and forth, and y'all just having a good old time, and trust me, I've been guilty of when I was younger, but see, this is the thing, I didn't know no better. I was coming up in circles and around people, and this is just in a certain time, like I said, in a certain demographic, in a certain community, these things are considered normal. So you just naturally feed into it. Now I will say this: it wasn't something that I felt. It was just something that I felt like I had to do in order to fit in. Well, they talking about this person. I gotta add something to the conversation. They talking to me, and they talking about somebody else. It's just me and this person. What I'm gonna do? Just sit there and be quiet? I mean, I do stuff like that now. You know what I mean? But I'll just be quiet, or I have very limited things to say, or I just may say something like, oh. Or I'll say something like, well, you should pray for that prayer. I'll throw something in there that'll throw them off. Like, well, how about instead of talking about it, maybe pray for them? You know what I mean? Things like that. So this is how we change society. This is how we change the mentalities. Okay? Another thing, if you see I changed my handle, when it came to me as to what you would consider me to be, if you wanted to be like, what are you? What do you do anyway? Besides YouTube videos, right? So for one, you know what I mean, you can consider me an influencer. How much of an influencer, you know what I mean? You can think of me as a thought leader. All right. Got my baby sticking up here like a buckwheat. But nah, guys. I think that might be everything. That might be everything for this video. Like I said, I think this is a heck of a video, in my opinion. But that's up for you to judge. That's something I'm working on. You know what I mean? Let other people judge. You know what I mean? How good something that you may put out is, and things like that. Sometimes we do. I mean, and see, let me say this real quick. So a lot of if to any of you out there that I may have ever came across as being I don't know, maybe you never know how somebody's perceiving you. I like to think that I'm a fairly I think I'm confident enough, but I like to think I'm a fairly meek individual. Um in comparison to a lot of people. But for some reason, you know what I mean, and perhaps it has been times that I have put off that energy. Um, you know what I mean? Who so for people who may think, I may think who may think I'm arrogant, or I have been arrogant, or showed some level of arrogance, and or something like words of that nature. Um, that's why I said. So I'm that's something that I'm working on. Like, you know what I mean. Well, let other people speak for. But oh, that's what it was. So the thing is, right? A lot of people. A reason I might come across like that on YouTube, some YouTube videos, is because I realized to build an audience when I was more so worried about building an audience, or that was something that I was considering, like, trying to build the audience. I say, you got to have a certain level of confidence. People like, that's the thing. We'll say that about people, but at the end of the day, when somebody doesn't display that confidence, or show that type of confidence, or show that what we consider arrogant, that's why we love rap music and stuff like that so much, right? That's why we love certain athletes and stuff like that, right? It's it's a certain confidence and air that they have about themselves a lot of times, or they display in their music and stuff like that as entertainment. But some of these people you might meet them in real life, and they some of the most meek and humble people that you might ever meet. You see what I mean? But part of selling themselves is to show a certain level of confidence. Okay, so yeah, wanted to say that. But hopefully this was a good video, guys. Peace.